Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always... Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And today on the Hermitcraft server, we're going to do a little bit of building out here in my very rarely visited base. A lot of people have complained I don't spend enough time out here. So you know what I decided to do? I decided, you know what? Those people are right. I should spend more time out here. I'm going to construct something so wondrous that I feel compelled to visit it. And what could possibly be more wondrous than an 1860s Cape Cod style home? So we are just going to build a beautiful little Cape Cod style house for ourselves here. I think first, we should probably establish some sort of foundation, which I should have brought stone for. So let's see, can we just ender pearl across there? Boom! Pro tip, ender pearl well. I'm that guy. I do it right. I'm Joe Hills, all through the night. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling pretty good, folks. I wrote a song earlier today, not intentionally. I was trying to write a 10-minute play, which is a very difficult type of play to write. And part of the reason for that is it doesn't have enough of a narrative that you can really go hog wild on it. You gotta kind of keep it constrained. And a lot of the 10-minute plays out there are about the act of creation. A lot of them, because people write what they know, and a lot of people who write know creation or know creativity, they end up writing about creativity, which is good in that creativity is a subject that, people should talk about. But it's less than ideal in that many people write about being writers. It ends up being this, I believe on Community, Shirley Bennett says, "I'm sorry, Charlie Kaufman, but I don't want to see a movie about writing. Some of us have kids and have work in the morning." And so I know a lot of you guys have work in the morning, and so I don't want to waste your time with anything that's less than incredible. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay the foundation for our little Cape Cod style house here. And let's see. It's going to be a stone foundation. We're just going to dig this out. It's a nice sandy soil. And ooh, we got some problems down here. You can't just have a cavern like that underneath your foundation, otherwise your foundation's going to start caving in. So we are going to shore this up with some ground fill here, or landfill, which is not to be confused with the sort of landfill you'd fill in a garbage dump with. But anyway, you use dirt to fill in the land that would otherwise undermine your foundation. Where was I? I was trying to write a 10-minute play. A very hard thing to write when all you do is make stuff, because half of the 10-minute plays that I've seen, at least at the writers' workshops in Nashville, are about making stuff, and you don't want to write the exact same thing everybody else has written. That's not entertaining. You want to write something new and different and unique. So, I kind of started thinking maybe I should write something that's really Nashville. And what's more Nashville than songwriting? Maybe I should write something about songwriting. And I didn't know exactly what I should write, but I knew it should be, maybe like somebody unfortunately, I'd seen too many plays about people trying to write plays or trying to write novels or finish a jingle for a commercial. And so then I was like, what would having somebody trying to finish a song or something like that is maybe not ideal, having them trying to write a song. But if I were to write something about somebody writing a song, what would it be about? And I had a few ideas, and none of them were absolutely stellar. But I started writing down some of the lyrics to one of those songs. And let's see. So this is 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, so our house here is going to have a spruce wood outside like so. And is this actually long enough? I probably should have checked that before I put the ends on it. But what I was hoping is that it would have 3 windows like this along it. So there's one. Okay, so here's where 2 would be. Okay, that is very nearly perfect, but not quite. That's not exactly where I want it. So what we're actually going to do is, I like this outside part here. We're just going to cut this out here in the back, and we're going to add to the foundation. So anyway, I started just kind of throwing down ideas about what I would like to have the song be about. And I kind of had this concept of how geometric geometrically speaking, lines are something that usually connect to points and go on in an infinite way. But then when we use lines in our real world, they tend to be less infinite and tend to be more confining. And then I started thinking about all the different types of lines that are less confining and are more empowering, if you will. And so I kind of started thinking about power lines and telephone lines and rail lines. But in Nashville, we don't have rail lines for people. So I kind of converted that into something about bus lines, and I was pretty pleased with it. And at the same time, though, I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a playwright. If I was a playwright, then I wouldn't be like, oh, what should I write about for my 10-minute play thing that I want to submit to this thing, for evaluation. I'd just, go make something. Anyway, so lacking the requisite experience and talent in these fields, I wrote this thing down, and it ended up kind of taking off, and at the end of it, I was like, wow, I've kind of got this half play thing, almost half, or not half play thing, half poem, half song. Maybe you could do it like kind of hip-hop style with like some spoken word elements. And so I sent it off to my brother, Sean Hills, who did my like theme songs that you might have heard on the old legendary videos, the one that's like, who's the guy who can conquer death? That's Joe Hills. He plays for Nashville when he plays Minecraft. That's Joe Hills. Except he actually sings it right. So anyway, I sent it off to him just to kind of ask, like, hey, does this have any artistic merit? Is this the sort of thing that might be interesting to people to, hear? Would people enjoy this if this were a thing for them? You know what? That's the wrong type of wood for that. And so I expected him to send me back a quick, I sent this to him I sent him a link to the thing via Twitter. So I expected him to send me a tweet back that said, no, this is terrible. You're not a songwriter. Stop. And not like in the Telegram way where he's like, you're not a songwriter. Stop. Message continues. Stop. But more like, stop trying to do things you're not good at. And instead, so then I don't hear from him, and I'm thinking, well, that's a really bad sign if he's not sending me anything. It must have been terrible, and he's like trying to figure out how to tell me how terrible it is. And instead, about an hour and a half later, he sends me a link that says, maybe, and has his take on what I had written, and it's kind of this country ballad thing that wasn't at all how I envisioned it, but worked, I thought, like, relatively well. I mean, hearing it actually performed, I could see that there were some places that were going to need to be looked at in order to, make it actually, playable for an audience or complete. But I gotta say, there is nothing more rewarding than starting work on something and having something come of it. And I hope that's an experience that you guys have this holiday season. A lot of you guys are off work or out of school or whatever for the first time since Thanksgiving, and I hope that you guys take a little bit of time to make something and then to share it with somebody and maybe to work on it together, because that is just such a wonderful experience. And you know what? If that song ends up being something that I could actually share with you guys, I would love that down the line. I'm not going to go ahead and actually include it in the video, his rough cut, because it's kind of, one of those things where I wrote this and I'm like, this is possibly embarrassing. I'm not sure if I even want to share this, but I'll give it a go. Tell me what you think. And, so what he sent me back, where he just threw it together real quick, it's not like properly edited all the levels, where everything's exactly the volume it should be, because when you're dealing with so he sends it back to me and it's got like harmonica and guitar and vocals. And I mean, he had clearly spent some time on it, but it was, less than an hour. So how much time could he have spent? He didn't have the amount of time it would take to make it, great. And I think it could be great, maybe. But until I saw the potential it had through the actions and the work of another, I was just kind of like, well, these are random thoughts in my head. This might not be that's not the best way to write a song, but then maybe that's just me not knowing anything about songwriting. Maybe that is the best way. Okay, so we got this dark wood here, and the roof is also going to be pretty dark because we want this place to look kind of aged. So I'm thinking I should put that on the Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Oh no, now I'm outside, and I better get back in before all the creepers show up. Okay, so let's add a quick stairwell up to the top of here, inside. And that's the worst place to put that stairwell. That is completely unhelpful to me. Okay, great. So, if I put this here, then I kind of come out. I'm not going to use stone for the actual structure itself here, but I'm just kind of using it to get a sense. Well, that's unhelpful too. That's also not what I wanted. Okay, cool. Great, so now we're actually putting a roof on this thing that's, you know, usable. Whoops. And that's not usable, that part. Dang it. I guess I'm probably going to have to put some sort of wood along the top there, too. So let's actually just go ahead and put cobble along here for right now, just as a placeholder to try and figure this out. But yeah, so anyway, even if you make something and it's not something that you're confident you'll be good at, you know, maybe take a chance, show it to somebody. You don't expect it to necessarily be perfect or great, but, you know, it might be a good starting place where you and somebody else could make something good down the way. And let's see. Okay, the mobs are starting to notice me over here. So if I break this, worst way to do that. Yeah, you are not getting to my door. I got my Sharpness 3 sword, which I've named Sharpie, which is what I use to sign the faces of my foes. Or the, you know, t-shirts of my fans. Great. Okay, so it looks like if I just kind of come along here and face the bottom part, that's going to place neatly there. And, well, except for that one. And again. And I think I'm going to want to go one out here. Great. And I'm on the ground again, which is perpetually terrifying in this game at night. As you can see, we got some skeletal activity, we got some mobs all throughout here. Did I actually do that all the way past the roof? No, I didn't. So I need to come out there, put that like so. Add that like so. Okay, great. Now, I think I'm going to add another row of these stone placeholders, just because it's really easy to tell what I need to take out, and the pick tool that I would use to remove the stone is not going to be the same tool that I would use to cut up the wood. So it's easy to avoid chopping out something you really need. See, like, because even though it's a diamond pick, it's not going to cut through the wood too quick. It's not like when you're trying to, like, get precisely enough netherrack out with the pick, and then you're like, ooh, that's too much. Gonna go in the lava. Undesirable activity. Okay. So, let's see here. I'm kind of tempted to... Let's see what's the best way to do this. This is actually the midpoint here. So... And this roof is going up at a 45-degree angle, which is known as a 12-12. It's going up 12 feet as it goes over 12 feet. So, let's see here. We're just going to apply that like so. Whoa! Thank you, Skeletal Threat, for reminding me that I need to maintain constant vigilance, lest you may skewer me with your arrows. You might have otherwise gone uninflamed. But fortunately for me, you reminded me of your presence, and I dealt you a swift blow of justice. Okay, so this is going to go back up again here. Whoops. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to want to start digging outward here. Let's plant a torch just to properly light this. And let's come across like so. Boom. Wonderful. Oh, I wish I'd brought those half slabs. Oh, I did. Awesome. Great. I can lay those atop the across the top here. Not atop the cross. This is not a cross. This is a line. But you get the idea. And then I just come down to here. Well, actually, wait. No, I'm going to need that very self-same line in order to place the symmetrical stairs. Whoops, and I did that twice. Well, sometimes you're going to make the same mistakes more than once. This is clearly one of those times. Dang it, I'm possibly going to be a few short on these spruce trees. That might be a problem. Well, let's see what we can do with that. So if I come out here, so that's pretty good so far. And then I just hop up like so, tossing in a little bit of this, coming across with a little bit of that. And that's clearly a block that I'm standing in. Great. So now we're going to have to use the crafting bench here to construct a few more of these stairs. Stairs are real easy to make. You just make them a shape like stairs. It's about the simplest stair-related shape you could possibly envision in this game. And there we go, off the bottom again. Wrong. Incorrect. Axed. So I got to hit the bottom of this with my cursor, not the top. Awesome. And that might have added an awkward angle. We'll take a look at that. So this incredibly terrible temporary scaffolding is now even more incredibly terrible and temporarily useless. Okay, so apparently I hit that at a bad angle. So we're going to axe that up, chop that like so. Okay, there we go. Don't see any creepers, and those stairs are few and far between. Did I drop any others that I'm going to need to grab over here? Apparently not. This will look a lot nicer once we remove all of this stuff. All that unnecessary garbage there. Awesome. And this right here as well. So this is a really simple house that you can just throw together quite quickly. And let's see, we will need to scaffold underneath these stairs. Whoops, that was the only block that I really needed to keep there. Kind of just doing the same thing all the way across. So, yeah, I guess back to what I was saying earlier about the play thing and the song. That's kind of one of the benefits of making stuff, is that you get to experiment with things. Whoops, that's not what I want. It's good to make things even if you're not sure if they're going to be good, because they might be poor in one genre, or not genre, media. It could even be genre, but like just because you make something intended to be a certain way doesn't mean that it's only going to be good that way, or that it couldn't be better in a different way. And the beauty of collaboration is that you really create opportunities to just kind of transcend the original vision of a piece of work and possibly give it a life that it wouldn't have otherwise. So we are just going to hop up here like so. We are just little stone hoppers, right? So not that we're dispensing stone, but we're just hopping upon it. We're, I guess if this was a book, it wouldn't be hop on pop, it would be hop on cob, but with cob being cobble. Bum, 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 bum. So this is very nearly finished. You guys get the general idea of the construction. And I'm starting to worry that I might barely lack the sufficient materials to complete the construction, which would indeed be grave and unfortunate. Yeah, because like if I put this one down at the end here, Well, that's incorrect. Worthless. But, like, yeah, so if I'm just coming through like so, now I'm out. So, well, what then? I mean, obviously, I have the option of creating one more set of 4 stairs. A vastly insufficient sum of stairs. Oh, dang it. Did I also additionally leave my crafting bench up atop the house? I'd make a terrible general contractor. Or a surgeon. It's like, where's that sponge? Oh, it is inside of that guy. That guy is not unsewn anymore. Well, that's a second problem now. Okay, we put our desk here. Final set of stairs. Final set of stairs for this episode. Because I'm going to have to go... Ugh, that's bad. I'm going to have to go retire to some place that has a little bit more lumber in order to actually finish this project. But on the whole, this is a great start for a quick house design that I probably should not ruin the scaffolding I need to finish. Yes. Gonna add some lights here and here for now, just so mobs don't spawn between episodes. But anyway, this is a reasonable start. We'll probably do something to, I don't know. Maybe I should use stone shingles. Whoa, that's a creeper. And he's dead thanks to my sharpness 3 sword. So I guess the moral of the story is be incredibly creative. Recognize some of the interesting elements of history and try to incorporate them into your work. And carry a big sword so when things try to blow you up, you can slice them into dust. Anyway, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.